Good morning everyone, busy day today, but we're going to get started with this tutorial on how to paint greens. So this is going to be great for any floral paintings you have where you just need a little bit of filler in there, or if you want to do just plain greens, works out too. So let's get started. So I just want to start off by saying I'll be using the same color of paint the whole tutorial. If I get lighter or darker color, it's only because I'm adding white or black. So for this stem of leaves, you're going to draw a thin line stem. And then for the leaves themselves, you start with the point of your brush, push down and taper back up at the top to a fine point. And you can curve them as you go a little bit. And when you get towards the top of your stem, you're going to want to make your leaves a little bit smaller and pointing more towards the top. So here I'm using a little bit of white while my paint's still wet and giving it some highlights. Now I'm using a small fine point brush with a little bit of black in my paint to make a center of my leaves. So you can either stop here or you can continue by adding a few more little details like I did, and at the end I topped it off with a lighter shade of green to give it more depth. For this next one, I'm making a curved stem and some small rounded leaves with a little bit of white and black mixed into my paint. Coming back down the stem, I'm following parallel to the other side of my stem. Now I'm adding some dark green for a little bit of a contrast and some shadowing. Here I'm using a lighter green for highlights, and I'm trying to keep it towards the top of the leaves a little bit. You can kind of play around with that. And now I'm going in with an even darker green to add a center to my leaves. Here I'm going to make two individual leaves that you can add in randomly throughout your painting. So this first one, it's going to stay in a typical pointed leaf shape with a rounded center. And this second one, I'm making the base rounded and pointing it at the top. A little bit of white for a highlight and a dark center. When I add details to a continuing line, I like to start about halfway up the line, and that helps me out to not make so many mistakes and smudges. So for this next one, I'm just putting some thin leaves going parallel once again to each other on both sides. They are rounded towards the center and then pointed at the top and the bottom. A little bit of shadowing and a little bit of highlights, and you get this nice depth to your leaves. Here I'm just touching up a few mistakes and moving on to the next leaves. These ones are just some chunky rounded leaves. I like to add these randomly once again throughout my paintings. I'm starting with the bottom leaf and painting my highlights there, and then I'm going to do this top leaf while my paint's still wet, so that way it looks like it's on top of the other one. Here I'm adding a little bit of black, a little bit of white, and just going back and forth till I like the look. And that concludes our video for today. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. I'll be posting another video next week. And until then, happy painting!